Hello and welcome to the DrivingMaul show. Hi, I'm Paul. I'll be your host this evening. And hey, you know what? It's the big guns are out, and that's the back for the internationals. And yes, we've got the big guns back on the show as well. We have Cornflake. How you doing, sir?
Oh, I thought there was someone else that was showing up there. We were talking about the big guns. I don't know where they were. I'm good. I'm good and renewed and refreshed and ready to talk a whole pile of garbage.
I think we've talked this year. I mean, geez, it's over 6 months since I had you on the show, I think.
You probably. I pretty much haven't done anything since the end of last year, really. Kind of shut up shop. It's a lot of planning goes into doing big things, you know.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm not sure the planning was into this show, though. We're talking about other big things here.
Yeah, we talked on length about this show this afternoon, didn't we? So, yeah, we're well prepared.
Did you make any notes? You got a running order? So I hand over hosting duties to you.
We got the whiteboard.
You got the whiteboard, okay.
Yeah, okay.
No, there is absolutely zero. No, there has been some talk of stuff. We had a chat this afternoon, but I don't think we actually put down any kind of plans for this evening. Good evening to Simon, who has joined us, and he says congratulations to the New England Free Jacks, their first Major League Rugby championship, defeating 41-year-old man Nonu of the San Diego Legion. Well, there you go. So yeah, Matt Nonu still running around in Major League Rugby. Wow, that's amazing. Maybe he can make a Rugby World Cup comeback, because he did try that, didn't he? Let's be honest. For the last Rugby World Cup, and it didn't.
He'd probably still be good enough.
Didn't come about. He'll still be good enough. Wow.
Shots fired
at Geordie Barrett there.
I didn't say starting. You maybe on the bench.
Oh, okay.
I don't mind Geordie at 12. Jeez, it's about to put my foot in it there. Off the bench.
So yes, so folks, what are we going to talk about this week? Well, obviously we'll talk about the two games. We'll have a look forward to the other Rugby Championship games of this coming weekend. We'll go through some of the news that's been around as well. And part of that Rugby news we had a chat about this afternoon, which is that Moana Pacifica have announced a new head coach, a head coach with All Blacks experience, has Super Rugby head coaching experience, top 12 head coaching experience. Also has done good things. It's in the MPC, and it is Tana Umanga. There you go. There's me trying to talk up his CV, because is it fair to say, Conflict, that you're not particularly enthused or overwhelmed by this appointment?
He fits a bit of a bill, I guess, doesn't he? He fits the sort of mold and the culture of the team, I guess, doesn't he? With his background and what he wants to impact with rugby these days. But as a coach, I mean, his record's not fantastic, is it? He's had better days as a player, that's for sure. But he joins a bit of a list of typically guys that like to go to the Blues that haven't had the greatest of years. But it depends. Like, yeah, sure, I could say Tana Umanga is not a great coach, but it depends on the team he's got around him. It's going to have a massive, probably bigger impact than what he'll have himself. The head coach is often dictated a lot by his own team. So do we know anyone he's got with him, or are we still just him and that's all at the moment?
They didn't really talk about his coaching staff, but look, he was Blues head coach from 2016 to 2018. So look, it's been nearly 5 years, amazingly, since he was head coach there. So clearly, he has what's the word? I mean, look, he will have evolved, matured in that time. How old is he now? He's still he's 50. Wow, he's older than me.
Really?
Jesus, I didn't realize that. Me, I'm only just. I mean, I'm 49, so he's not a lot older than me. Less than a year older than me, but even so. And look, I was on the media interview that he gave today, the big Zoom call with which had a big turnout. Look, when I normally go on these Zoom calls from Moana Pacifica, you have like 5 or 6 at most, and a couple of those are from the islands. media in there. This time there was like 27 callers on the call. So wow. Either it was a slow news day, because also it was late notice. We didn't get to know about this opportunity until late Sunday night, and it's Monday morning at 11 o'clock was when the call was. So it was a quick. So a lot of people on that call. I didn't get to ask any questions, but I've got a recording of that interview, and I will put that out for patrons only, both on the podcast feed, and I think I can put it now as a video on patreon.com/NZ Sport Radio. It'll be available on both of those locations, folks, for the interview. For me, some of the things that came out of that, and the reason I talk about the fact that it's been 5 years since he's been head coach of the Blues, is he talked about how he didn't want to be he hasn't been looking for a head coaching role. What he's been doing is it's the opportunity. I've forgotten the words I used. I told you the words earlier in the show in our chat this afternoon.
I didn't write on the whiteboard. That's the problem.
Exactly. Jeez, amateurs we are, absolute amateurs. So he, but it was the opportunity that Marcus gives, and how he can give back to Pacifica. So it was more about how he could impact and what change and what he could do in this group, rather than he was looking for head coaching role. This was the only one that came up, which I think is a good sign from that point of view. As Nocturnal Right says, yeah, he'll tell them that it ain't tiddlywinks, and absolutely it's not tiddlywinks. But there we go. And he'll also keep hold of all the handbags. He was involved in that, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was. Yep.
So I think that's a good sign for this. He also mentioned how it's not what you know, it's what they can learn. I think that's what the quote was. I put the quote on our Facebook group, which I thought was also good, that he's not thinking about it from his point of view, but he's trying to understand it from the player's point of view, which I think is also key. That perhaps he has matured since his time, or has had a mindset change since his time as Blues head coach. He also mentioned how he's had a lot of time with family recently, and that's been good, and that's one of the reasons why he hasn't wanted the head coach role. But it feels like to me that he's in a better place going into this role than he necessarily was going into the Blues one, where I think at that time he'd been at Toulon, he'd been at Counties Manukau. I think he was like an ambitious, I want to be a head coach, I'm on the head coaching kind of pathway, can I make it to be an All Blacks head coach kind of thing, rather than necessarily where he is now, which is about more holistic. I think it's probably a better place for someone who's going to be the Mano Pacifica head coach. But anyway, that's my soapbox rant.
It's weird that you talked about his days in counties. He was actually semi-successful in counties. He didn't have the raging collapse like he had at the Blues, but from my memory of his time at counties, he actually did fairly decently enough, because counties was pretty average back in those sort of days. I mean, they're not much better now, but they did actually. It's that culture. It's probably that of the people, that are more, I guess, resonate with a person like him. He's got that sort of connection with those people, and I think he's going to have that same sort of connection with the Moana Pacifica team as well. So if he can link up with them in that sort of way, I think you get to the Blues, he's kind of got a bit too professional, if that makes sense, because he's gone past the phase of connecting as a person to the players, to being this figurehead sort of position that we put, like coaches at Super Rugby and higher level. So yeah, it's I think it could be better if he goes back to that sort of root sort of level where he kind of got at the NPC sort of area with counties. Could do them well, hopefully. I mean, you don't wish the guy any ill, do you? He's a bit of a talisman that you kind of want him to be successful as well.
Yeah, absolutely. As Samuel Williams has mentioned, about the kind of about the lack of Pacifica representation in head coaching. If you can't see it, you can't be it, kind of thing. So look, I think it's also look, counties Blues. I think he's basically a South Auckland boy, isn't he? At the end of the day, so I think also from with them being based in Mount Smart, I think it's also good from a supporter's point of view that again can connect with that community and hopefully increase the fan base. So look, we wish him all the best. But as you say, technically, is he a coach with a whole bunch of trophies in the cabinet? No, he's not. But is that necessarily what Moana Pacifica need right now? I mean, hey, they wouldn't say no. Let's be blunt. But I think one of the interesting things mentioned to you was I think that Aaron Major's perhaps being harshly thought about in this role. And he turns up to an organisation that is a handful strong at the time when he was hired, with no training base, no training kit, nothing. I mean, he's had to build that up from scratch. At least Tanner walks in, there is a training base set up. They own a scrum machine. I assume they do anyway. And things like that. So at least some of the groundwork has been done. And I think that now the other downside of it is he is with Samoa through to the Rugby World Cup. And one of the things he said was, I'll watch game tape once I'm back from Samoa. Well, hang on, you're back from Samoa in November, depending on how far they go in the Rugby World Cup. And he's then going to have some time to obviously to have a rest. It's been as the international season will be a chunk. So you do wonder how much time he's got to prepare and get ready for the for the new season, and also putting his own coaching staff in if they are going to replace the coaching staff, etc. As you said, it depends on who's around him as a head coach. Dylan says he doesn't need to have trophies. He is already a legend. Absolutely, he is a legend as a player. And as a person, he's not a legend as a head coach. Let's be blunt here. But players will listen to him because he does have the manner to do that, which is good.
Yeah, we don't want to start down that track, do we, of good players who have gone to coaching. I think there's a longer list of unsuccessful ones than there is successful ones. That is certainly for sure. Jeez, you don't even want to think about it.
And not just in New Zealand either.
No, globally and sport-wise as well. A lot of them, any sport, you look at cricketers do it quite badly as well. They think they're playing, they go commentary. Oh, goodness me, we've got some horrible commentators. They think they just go, oh, I played it, I must be good at everything else to do with it. But sadly not. Sadly. Well, gratefully not, because some of them are horrible.
So just anyway, from with the Samoa Rugby International, they'll be on TVNZ. So that's fantastic. That's free to air to see the Samoa International games coming up. Pacific Nations Cup. You reckoned it was happening this weekend. I've not looked and checked on those facts, but hey, who likes facts to get in the way of a good story?
It was starting around the same time as the Rugby Championship, so they pretty much run fairly close together. I'll check.
Yes, and that tapping in the background, folks, is Cornflake Googling it. It would be nice if you had a quiet keyboard for this whole podcasting malarkey, but hey, he's gone out and bought himself a new camera. He's gone out and bought all his new equipment, but still has the old noisy keyboard. But hey, there we go.
This is actually a silent keyboard, just so you know. It's a nice, perfect silent one. I just got crunchy fingers. That's what it is. Right, we'll come back to me.
Absolutely. So the weekend kicked off then, or what other news are there? Actually, the news will come on to afterwards because it's about where players happen to be. Stuart Hogg has retired before the Rugby World Cup. He is the next Northern international player to retire. We've already had Alwyn Jones and Justin Tipperick retire from Wales ahead of the Rugby World Cup. For Hogg, it's a bit different. He's retiring entirely from rugby, and it's all about crunchy cornflakes. Love it. Comment in the live chat there. Oh, yes, just a reminder, folks, you can always join us on the live chat on YouTube or Facebook. You can also watch live on Twitter as well, and also catch the podcast, which is just audio. And we can also, if you don't want to watch live, you can watch the videos recorded, post as well. But Stuart Hogg's retired. The difference between him and Alwyn Jones and Justin Tipperick is that he is retiring from all forms of rugby, and it seems that it is injury related. His body just cannot cope with any more international rugby. And you might say, hey, look, that's a bit disparaging, can't cope. I wouldn't cope 2 seconds. Actually, no, that's not fair. It takes longer than that for the ball to land from the restart or from the kickoff. I would basically last until the first contact before my body gave in. So let's be honest. So look, it's not disparaging away. It's just that he's had many years of rugby. Centurion with Scotland, an absolute legend of the game. When you go into a Scotland all-time team, I don't know, because Gavin Hastings is also in that same jersey. Otherwise, you'd say yes. He's absolutely walking into the team. Put him on the wing. Yes, maybe so. LB, how much of the show did I miss? Well, it's pretty simple, mate. Look at your watch, and we click off at 8 o'clock. So 15 minutes is how much you missed. Very simple. So Hogg, a fantastic career, British and Irish Lions, Scotland legend. Good luck. Obviously, all the best in his post-rugby career in that one. There was also been the women's rugby, and I'll be honest, we won't talk about that unless, Cornflake, you're fully up to speed on the Pac Fours with the All Blacks, the Black Ferns beating Canada comfortably at the weekend. Did you?
I was going to say beating, thrashing. I saw them thrash them.
Thrashing, yes.
Yeah, that's about as up to depth as it's been. A crushing win. What's the word? I can't think of a good word to describe it now. An emphatic victory.
Yep, 21-52. Australia, the Wallaroos beat the USA 58-17 as well. Which, considering that the Black Ferns beats the Wallaroos 0-50, would suggest that the Black Ferns are going to win their upcoming game against the USA this coming weekend rather comfortably. Canada, Australia should be probably a more competitive one. That game, as Simon says, Canada were more competitive compared to Australia the previous week. Yes, that is very true. I don't seem to have. I can't find the game between the USA and Canada and how that result went on the old Tribe Sports app. So Tribe Sports app, you missed a game. How dare you? That's very rare for them because they've even got games. They generally have all of the games in there. So Pacific 4 Series going well for the Black Ferns ahead of because then they're emerging with the teams from the Six Nations in November, as they've got this sort of the Nations Cup thing in place. So heading in the right direction, which is good to see. The under-20s is also happening. And that is not going so well for the Baby Blacks.
Just hide the side
or whatever. Sorry?
Just hide that side when you talk about the under-20s.
Under-20, hide that side, eh?
Now, we'll fix the paces flag. So in the NBA, we're, great stuff.
Get the American side of things up again. They lost to Australia 35-44. In their 5th to 8th place semi-final, having already missed out on making the actual finals. The under-20s, similar to the senior brethren, with Ireland going to face France in the final for the under-20 World Championships, with England versus South Africa for the bronze medal or third, fourth playoff. New Zealand will be, facing Georgia for the 7th to 8th playoff place. The other game that is of importance is the 11th, 12th playoff, which is between Italy and Japan, to see who gets relegated out of the under-20s championship there. So that'll be a big one for that one. Simon Hughes, Canada versus USA game was played earlier in the year. Canada beat the USA in Madrid. Okay, so that's why I can't find it on Tribe Sports app, because it wasn't in the last month. It was the game.
Better apologise now to Tribe.
Yes, exactly. Sorry for Tribe. I am such an awful, horrible person, having missed the fact that the Pacific 4 Series kicked off in April, then took an hiatus for a couple of months before it kicked off again. Wow.
Plain fights ain't cheap, you know. So they foregoed their home advantage to go play in Madrid instead of playing in Canada, because they're playing in Ottawa now.
Yes. But I mean, that's a weird ass competition, isn't it?
It's very weird.
To have a game in April and then your next game is in July. So you have it's like a 10-week gap between games. Hey.
Whatever works.
Actually, sorry, June, 29th of June was the other. Anyway, whatever. And I mean, that's how you keep the public interest in a tournament, by just taking a few weeks off. We found that worked for Super Rugby really well, didn't it?
Not much works for Super Rugby, though. Come on.
Hey, look, it's a step in the right direction, that the fact that this tournament is happening, which is great to see. Obviously, it happened last year in New Zealand, where I actually managed to get along to and do some media work ahead of the Women's Rugby World Cup. Look, it's great that it is happening. I know we're being a bit facetious and making some comments, but it could be better. Basically,
hey, look, it's good to see, like, especially Canada and America, and teams that I guess don't have such that huge male sort of dominant aspect to their sport, but they're still, they're up there and competing with the world's best. So, hey, nothing wrong with that. I mean, getting out there doing it. If it takes 6 months to do a competition of 6 weeks, who cares? It's all getting the sport out there, and especially in those massive markets. I mean, you couldn't dream of a better place to have hosting a tournament, even if only playing 3 or 4 weeks there in Ottawa in Canada. So why not? Good on them. Do it. Get out there. Expose it. So many people out there will be interested in it. It's different.
And slipping seamlessly into a little advert here. Cornflake and I will be having a chat tomorrow. He has just been on holiday to the USA for 3 months. I think it was. You said it was a fantastic trip. If you're friends with him on Facebook, you'll have seen it. But what that also meant was that he went to a number of sports games, including the Pacers in basketball. He went along to some baseball games as well.
We went to about 16 NBA games, baseball, hockey.
Some ice hockey. So look, so what we're going to do is have a talk. It's going to be patrons only chat, but we're going to talk about what should New Zealand stadiums or administrators learn from America about how you host games and how you actually get people to go along to games. Because ice hockey is a game that really, having watched one on TV, I couldn't follow that watching it live because the puck thing travels far too quick. So in some ways, that's actually probably easier to watch on TV than it is to watch live. So how do they actually get people into the stadiums, into the ice rinks to watch these games when actually, a bit like baseball, you are so far away, you haven't got a clue what's going, where he's actually thrown it. Is that within is the call correct or not by the umpire? Who knows? You can only know if you're watching it on telly, really. So how do they make it such a good environment to actually turn up, want to watch these games live when the home watching experience is actually better? So we'll be having a talk about that tomorrow. That'll come out on Patreon later in the week. So look out for that, folks, with that one. And so 10,000 headed out to the Ottawa game. Look, that's a decent Super Rugby crowd. Let's be honest, that's a decent. That's a good crowd. I mean, obviously, we've had some fantastic crowds to some of the games in Europe, women's rugby games in both France and the UK, getting some big crowds at Twickenham and various crowd places there. But look, that's more than the Black Ferns draw in New Zealand is 10k. Let's be blunt about this. Shane goes, typical Cornflake is his love for his Pacers flag in the background. Look, that wasn't up until I told him to put it up. So look, I'm going to take credit for that. On that one,
I had to paint the doors. All right. See, look, they used to be wood. See, real fans of the channel would know that they used to be wood grain and they were varnished. See, now look at how beautiful they look. See, what a handyman, eh?
Yeah. Leave the door handle in shot as well. I mean,
it's beautiful silver.
Proper backdrop.
Oh no, the flag fell off completely. It's a work in progress. It's a work. Come on.
Get Shane to discuss Pretoria. Oh, look, come on, be nice with Shane, okay? It was but we will move on to that game now. That was, let's be honest, an emphatic win by the Springboks, beating the Wallabies 43-12, including 2 penalty tries plus 4 tries scored, a hat trick by Kurt Lee Aronson, plus Peter Steph-Toy sneaking in for one as well. Look, the Wallabies did strike first. Koroibete running down the line to score. A number of players out there who play in Japan for the Wallabies. You've got Koroibete, you've got Cooper, you've got Will Skelton, who's obviously in France as well. So they're a bit of their foreign legion have turned up for that one. At altitude, a bit of talk prior to the game about the 13 Springboks who have already flown to New Zealand ahead of their game against the All Blacks, and a bit of a tiff in the media room afterwards. But we'll get onto that with Eddie Jones. But what do you think? What are your thoughts from the game? I mean, real domination by South Africa, 63% possession, 6% territory. They did really control this game.
Yeah, but we headed into this game, and I think I spoke about it on the preview I did last week about it. It's very much unknown, weren't they? The South Africans, especially, we don't see a typically huge amount about them here in this side of the world, unless you're a lucky person that can stay up all hours of the night watching rugby, which would be great. We should make that happen. But yeah, they were typical, what you kind of want to see or what you'd expect to see if you're seeing a good Springbok side is what they delivered. And look, I expected the Wallabies would probably to sort of stuck in this one a bit better. They're typically a side that don't fall away as easy as some of the sides would. So I was quite surprised that they actually fell away, gave up that early lead, good start, but then they just completely lost the plot, didn't they? Defensively, watching them, they just didn't have much structure. Like you spoke about, I don't know if it was those players from outside of Super Rugby areas, but they didn't have the continuity. And I thought on defensive workings, they were, completely out at sea. They weren't knowing what the left hand was doing to the right hand, and players shooting out of the line to try and make spot tackles, getting beaten, shortening out their defensive line. Then things got a bit aggressive for them, penalty tries, and they just got, those two wingers, I said in my preview, if those two wingers can get some ball, they are going to cause trouble and wreak havoc. And I'm glad that they actually got some ball, because when you've got midfielders that like to run, and you've got a fly half that typically, if he plays to the game plan of South Africa, is going to kick it, your wingers don't see too much attacking ball. They kind of chase and they kind of kick, and if they are lucky to get a bad kick, then they can have a wee stab, and they get through a few chances. But it was great to actually see Orange and Moody get a little bit of ball and show what they can do, because they are so dangerous. And now they're coming here, and they've got, these better players of South Africa A that are already here. They've got a bit of a selection headache in those outside backs. So not something you typically say for South Africa, is it? They've normally got their bread and butter, back three, and they stick with it. But it's good, because if they play that brand of rugby, it's going to be an exciting year for the Springboks.
Careful, we don't want Eddie Jones attacking us about talking about the A's and B's and stuff like that. But hey, but look, 28%, nearly a third of the game was played with the Springboks with ball in hand in the Wallabies 22. Now, if you've got that amount of ball in there, you're going to spin it wide at some point for the wingers to have a go. Let's be honest. And with nearly 40%, nearly 50% of the game was played with the ball in hand by the Springboks in the Wallabies half. It was a total. There's comments in the chat about the kicking. Yes, look, we had 62 kicks in this game from hand, way more than we had in the following game. The Wallabies just didn't kick well, and funnily enough, you get yourself a let's go out and buy some rugby league players, because they're really good apparently. Even though, and I'm trying to remember his name on blank. Suliasi Vunivalu. Yep. Look, even though he has had a couple of years in rugby union now for the Reds, he hasn't had that much game time, lots of injuries, and his positioning could definitely do better. So, look, as Shane says, the forwards were out muscled, a bit of ill discipline, and look, if you are making something stupid, was it? Discipline was obviously 3 penalties to South Africa. South Africa gave up 13 by the Wallabies. If you're making 139 tackles to only 58, you're going to be under pressure. You're going to give up those sort of things, and we saw that also in the penalty tries. So very impressive by South Africa. The only stat of that I would say would worry me if I'm a Springbok supporter. Tackles made 58, tackles missed 21 by the Springboks. Wow. Tackles made by the Wallabies 139, tackles missed 29. So a lot of tackles missed by the Springboks there. So that would be my only concern for them going forwards on that one. Look, it's the first game of the season for everybody. A bit of rustiness in the set piece, as you probably expect. Also, with when you're playing your B team, we don't know each other. So But very impressive by the Springboks scoring 43 unanswered points on the Wallabies, who, as I say, scored first and last. But let's be honest, it was a consolation try at the end there for Carter Gordon. So look, I think one of the things we've been saying is that there are some exciting players in Australia at the moment. They've got some really cool players who are playing overseas. It's how Eddie manages to mash them together and actually get a team out of that. At the end of the day, it's all about a smash and grab at the Rugby World Cup. Remember, folks, it's not about these games. But clearly, Eddie Jones was not happy. And was this really a B team? I don't know. You got the list of some of the players who are in New Zealand already include Malcolm Marks, Evan Netzbeth, Ludi Jaeger, Faf de Klerk, Cheslin Colby, Macaulay, Mapimpi, Damien Delende, all World Cup winners. Yes, but are they past their best? Are we? We'll have to wait and see. No, I'm just saying this. Just because we're seeing a bunch of players we don't necessarily recognise doesn't mean this isn't the best Springboks team, right?
I wouldn't say
Wales
they're
got that
by
win.
any stretch not recognised. Like I look at that team and they've been around for all those players been around for a long time. Even the young wingers, Arneson and Moody, been around for the 2 seasons now. I'm sure they're definitely there last year. Maybe last year was their debut year. But, Estates has been in that midfield for ages. Lacanio Arm's been there forever. We know him. He's a World Cup winner. Marnie Libok's been in and around that squad, normally at fullback. The forward pack, you got Kitsoff Mahoba, Mbanambi. These aren't names, they could have named that team and not told anyone that half the squad was going to New Zealand and no one would have known any better. They could have just been, rotating through the squad. This could easily pass as maybe 1 or 2 names you'd change about, but as the best South African team that they had available at the time. They've just got incredibly good depth, and you can't argue with that. They're not glaringly massive sort of rotations that they've not done before, and they'll do it again.
There's a couple of locks there that you're starting with Jean Klein and Marvin Ori. I mean, you'd expect them to be like 5th and 6th choice. I mean, look, they're when you think of some of the other names that they've got. So, there are a couple of names, but you say otherwise there is no one there. Maybe Limbok at 10 because you say he's played mainly fullback, but otherwise, all those players have been and have started for the box before. You wouldn't be upset to see that kind of team, bar a couple of names you say roll out for the Rugby World Cup final, for example.
But you've got to get that Klein cap in though. They had to get that in quick, ASAP. He's the Irishman. They've got all that media attention now. They've got to get that cap. Boom, snap. He's locked in. Marvin Ori, he's probably 5th or 6th better,
Only for 3 years, whatever. Actually, no, because he's probably residency for Ireland, isn't it? We'll just obviously I've got to name those names ahead of this coming weekend. The All Blacks, in contrast, their entire squad, apart from Will Jordan due to migraines and Lester Fanuku, who's got a calf injury. So apart from 2 players who were unavailable to injury, all went to Argentina and flying back. One of the comments in our rugby chat group is that actually the Springboks will be less jet lagged than the All Blacks playing in New Zealand. Does that concern you?
Migraines. That concerns me more. Who stays at home and doesn't take some pills? What's he got? Has he got concussion problems or something, Will Jordan?
He's got some inner ear, some head problem. So I don't think it's not concussion, but it's something that made him miss the first half of the Super Rugby season. For example, it took him out
so it's the same
during
thing.
November. Well, I don't know if it's the same thing. But it's got the same name.
It must be the same thing.
Right. Let me. I'm just saying he's got a history of this. Now, whether
we got the doctor on
the
job there. Dr. Paul's on the job. It's going to be the exact same thing. Have another beer, you'll be right. No, not really. To be honest, I don't think jet lag's it shouldn't play a big thing into this. I mean, they'll be back. They're back already. So they'll be ready to go. They got a week to prepare. South Africa, they'll have those fresher guys. They'll probably all play. But I mean, nah, I'm not worried about jet lag. I'm more worried just about the Springboks team. That squad, those players. You name those names, added to the names that played. Just a fantastically aggressive just great team. That they seem to nail down what they're doing, and that's what often is a problem with South African rugby is their game plan and executing and everyone being on the same page. And if that's something they've found a solution for this year, well, they're going to be incredibly dangerous. So jet lag's no excuse. Then if they're playing today or tomorrow, then sure, but no, they got a week.
Okay, so we'll there you go. It's not a problem, folks. Look, travel is always an issue. And from Argentina there aren't direct flights, so it's even more so. But yeah, it will be.
If you travel this much as a professional rugby player, you travel all the time like this. You have to get some sort of acclimatization to traveling all the time. You have to be a bit more acclimatized to it than a regular old Joe. And if you take more than 7 days, like how long is a flight from Argentina to Auckland? If you take more than 7 days to get back into your groove, then you might you got something wrong.
So and what we're going to do is we're going to send Cornflake over to Argentina on our with our massive budget, make him play a amateur rugby game over there, and fly back over here and see how he is a week later. He'll be,
no problems.
Look,
just subscribe to Patreon, Driving Maul, and we'll make it happen. I'll record it. I got a good camera now.
On that, if this wasn't a Rugby World Cup year, okay, back to my point. I was thinking of, we would not be playing back-to-back games with this travel. There would be a week break in the Rugby Championship. Normally, that's what happens. But even so, it won't be used as an excuse. It can't be used as an excuse by the All Blacks ahead of this ahead of the Rugby World Cup. Second game then, Argentina versus the New Zealand, finished 12-41. So another convincing win by in this one. Unlike the other game where the Wallabies sort of got the first score, the Pumas didn't score until the second half. So the All Blacks controlled this one. They were a lot less dominant as far as territory and possession go. But look, there's been a lot of doom and gloom around the All Blacks and their Rugby World Cup chances. But from my mind, what we saw here again with your Geordie Barrett, Shaqiri Ioane, Bowden Barrett, Noah, Aaron Smith, all scoring tries there in the back all those backline tries. If the All Blacks get front foot ball, they have got damaging attacking players in that backline who will score tries and will score points. It's a matter of can the forwards give them that platform. A lot less kicking in this game, only 15 by the Springboks, 18 by the All Blacks. So what's that? 33 kicks compared to over 50. The All Blacks generally are known as being a kicking team to create attacking opportunities. Better set pieces by both teams in this one, a bit less rust. Really, actually, maybe not so much by the Pumas. Your thoughts from this game? A strong win by the All Blacks against the Pumas.
Yeah, it was a surprising result. I was really surprised for it. The Pumas came out really strong, I thought, out of the blocks. Those first, they scored in the 5th minute, but those first 2 or 3 minutes when the All Blacks were off the kickoff in their 22, struggling to clear their lines, the Pumas defence was fast and aggressive, and I thought, yeah, here we go. The crowd was raw, and I was like, game on. This is what we come to expect. And then Rieko Ioane makes that split. He cuts them in half, goes 3/4 of the way out the field, and they score that try through Dane Coles, and it just goes flat, doesn't it? The stadium goes flat. The Pumas defense goes flat. The passion seemed to just slowly dry up out of the Argentinians. It was a really disappointing performance by them. I think from a New Zealand perspective, the forward pack, I think, was the biggest surprise. The fact that they actually dominated the set piece. The scrum was really, really good. They won their lineouts. They contested on opposition lineouts. They were going forward. And what concerns me, though, is we only seen Damian McKenzie going forward. And I want to see Damian McKenzie under pressure to know if he's really the real deal, the number 10 jumper. He played good. He played all right. I don't want to be a downer on the poor guy, but last time I saw him in a black jersey, he went backwards in the rain, and it was probably one of the least memorable, but I'll never forget it, nights of watching a game of rugby. So I want to see how he's going to deal with that pressure. I don't know if I want to see him start against the Springboks, because that could be, well, I mean, hey, the baptism was on fire for him. So we'll see who they select going forward. But yeah, he was good, but the pack was so good. It would be difficult for them not to, with that sort of firepower outside. And yeah, this thing overall, they all played pretty well except for Caleb Clark. Had to get out in there.
Why is Caleb Clark there?
So now everyone's joining on my bandwagon. Now you all join in. Everyone's going, why is Caleb Clark in the All Blacks? I've been saying this for 2 years. Why is Caleb Clark in the All Blacks? He had a good first up season Super Rugby. He was average in international rugby that year. Okay. And then he's just gone.
No. He burst
nothing.
Look, his first year as an international was good. He went off to try and make it into the Olympic sevens, and it's kind of collapsed since then. He hasn't returned well, to my mind.
See you, Caleb.
I had question marks around Josh Lord, but look, he stepped up and showed us why he got selected. My question marks around Josh Lord were his lack of game time. More than anything else, and the fact that I've just not seen him play Super Rugby much. So how was he picked as a starting lock in this game? He had a good game. Question in the chat: how was Awani at 13? Look, he's a fantastic attacking 13, and so in a game where he's got front football, he's going to look good. As you say, defensively, what's he like when he has to defend, has to go back, and it's going backwards? That's the question mark around him. More so, a bit like some of the question marks there around David McKenzie. Given this platform, the backs were given the best opportunity to look as good as they are. They are good. Don't get me wrong, but there'll be greater tests for them for those kind of two players in that one. It's interesting to see where does Anton Leonard-Brown fit into this? Can he fit back in, or are Geordie and Rico going to be the centre combination? If they are the centre combination, then I want to see them play as much as possible, so they actually get to learn to play with each other. Because let's be honest, Geordie's time at 12, particularly at international level, is limited, and his time with players like Rico and with the guys who will be inside him at 10, be it Beauden Barrett, be it Richard Mwanga, be it his brother Beauden Barrett, he has not played 12 with those guys at international rugby. Yes, I'm sure he's played a lot of rugby next to his brother in his backyard with the goalposts his dad set up on the farmyard. But it's different playing it at this pace under this pressure. So for me, if he is going to be the 12 and Rico's going to be the 13, which it looks like, I don't see the reason why they wouldn't be, then I want to see those guys play as much rugby as possible heading towards the Rugby World Cup. I know you're going to talk about, people talk about managing player minutes, etc., but I think combinations are important as well.
Yeah, I mean, we look at this team, though, that they've selected for this competition, and the fact that we've only got the 3/4 weeks, I guess, with the Aussies involved as well, building into that, and the fact that you've got a coach that's very, should I say, consistent, to be a nice word, about his selections. There's no way he's going to drop a Rico Ioane. He could have a nightmare for the next 2 weeks or 3 weeks, and he's not going to be out of that squad. And it's as I feel like a Caleb Clark, he's been pretty average, and I do hope what Nocturnal says about Leicester flying Luku, but yeah, great. He needs to come in and get fit and be in that team. And of course, we've got Mr. Headaches as well to come back at some point too, which would be good to bolster that. So I don't think too much is going to change in the squad. I think your core 90% of your team for Rugby World Cup, barring like catastrophic amount of injuries, that's what we're going to be looking at. So you're going to be looking at Rico. You're going to be looking at Geordie Barrett's going to be in that mixer somewhere. Anton Leonard-Brown's been injured so much. It's like, is he a reliable sort of force in there now? Is he just going to be a backup? Is he going to play the Namibia games for the All Blacks? Geordie, I mean, is there hate towards Geordie Barrett at 12? I don't mind him at 12 because he takes up so much defensive pressure because of the way he plays. He doesn't do much special. He just absolutely bulldozes through guys, and he forces 2 or 3 defenders to take him down, which weakens that next phase of defensive readiness and does kind of give that 2-man threat of that little offload that they kind of do. It's not fantastic. It's not groundbreaking. It's not special, but it's effective enough. And I think the All Blacks backline kind of does benefit a little bit of his directness in the way he attacks the defensive lines, and it kind of forces them to not have that ability to come out and just smash that first guy, to smash that 12, because Geordie's pretty good in the tackle at keeping the ball alive, keeping the ball up, or wriggling his way out of defenders. It's just effective enough to create that little bit extra time for them.
Look, I've got no problems with Geordie at 12. I quite like him at 12. I guess it's more the kind of, to me, it's more the depth that I'm talking about here. Is that the All Blacks have got some good depth in some good positions, a bit like the Springboks have with at lock. Is how do you put Lou Diego on the bench? I mean, how do you not play RG Simon? Oh, well, because I've got Etzebeth there and Malherbe, and oh my God, there were two other guys who started the weekend who were pretty useful. It's that kind of problem. How do you put all these players into two positions? You can't.
You're talking about our midfield. You're saying that New Zealand rugby midfield has a massive amount of depth that someone's going to miss out.
Not massive amount. There's depth. Yes, exactly. There is depth, and somebody will miss out. Yes, I mean Jack Goodhue isn't even in the bloody squad. The wider squad.
I mean, you can pretty much guarantee that Leonard Brown and Goodhue are going to go out injured in the next month or two. Are they going to make it to the Rugby World Cup? So you commit to those four guys, okay? You commit to Geordie, you commit to Rico, you commit to Goodhue, and you commit to, I don't know who I've left out, Anton Leonard Brown. And what are you looking at next? Nankerville?
Well, no, because there's someone else in the All Black squad, and I've forgotten who it is now. That's already there. That's there instead of Goodhue. But
not experienced. Would you be happy with him running out in a World Cup semi-final?
Oh, so it's Braden Ennor, isn't it? Who's there in there?
Oh, Jesus, midfielder. No, he's not. He's a complaint anywhere from 12 to 15. That's what Braden Ennor's there for.
Well, I wouldn't play him at 12. I'd put 13 to 15. I put him as outside. He's an outside centre. He's not an inside centre. Jeez,
he's on the bench and he goes down. He'll play 12.
So yeah. What happened to Goodhue? The guy is the best centre New Zealand has. Injured. He's just not playing anything. Not playing rugby. He's but he had a good game. He had a good full game at the weekend against Japan. So look, he's off with the All Blacks B team or the All Blacks 15 in Japan. Get him some game time, and then he's there ready to come in if possible, if needed. There's also that shock of who. Midfield's options are okay, but hardly world shattering. That's what he's. I really rate Anton Leonard Brown. I think he's very good. Now, 100%. After him, with Braden Ennor, not so, maybe not so. And then also, who's the guy from the Crusaders who got picked in the squad up on blank?
No, please, no. Next year.
Sorry?
Next year, the one that got the high tackle from Anton Leonard Brown that got him the card in the final.
Yes,
him, that guy.
Pulling up that guy. He's so good, we can't remember his name.
I don't want to remember his name.
Extremely harsh.
Don't tell me he's even in the team. McLeod, yes.
Dallas McLeod is he's in the squad, but he's not in the team. You're quite right. Yeah, look, there's three guys there who I like to see in the centres, and there's a couple who are like, oh, okay, I wouldn't want to rely on them. I think I like the hardiness comes back in
of that combination they got now. Barrett and Rico very rarely get injured, which now I've said that touch wood, because if one of them two go down, this weekend they're going to be going back to this video going, he said that. So hopefully
look, if anyone
those guys on ice.
How many times has New Zealand pardon me, New Zealand in this place with centre problems? Well, look, it did help that Nonu, Smith and Sonny Williams didn't get injured either. Basically, we relied on the three midfielders for a couple of Rugby World Cups, let's be honest. I want to go back to comment by where's her comment? No, there's a comment there about defensively and worry about and the concern was there. Here you go. My problem is we seem to have the same issue. We don't settle on the first 15. So much shuffling around. I understand why, but we need some continuity. Yeah, I'm there with the continuity. heading into this Rugby World Cup. But not with Caleb Clark in there. I'd definitely shuffle him.
Yeah.
It's a bit harsh.
Shuffle him out.
And it'll also be good to see how the other comment. That's one I have with the All Blacks. When things are going wrong, how do they react? Will they freeze and think they have to do something? I don't think they freeze, but it's just a matter of they're not used to playing on the back foot so much. And so how do you play on it? Because at Super Rugby level they don't have to do it very often. And so how do you have to play on the back foot when you've also got less time because you're playing at international level rather than club level? So to me, that is the concern that we'll see when we come up against the Springboks this coming weekend. I think can they, as you say, can they do it when they don't have all that front football?
Yeah, and further on from that comment, it's not that; it's more the fact that, well, it's like you say when they freeze, but it's the fact that they either, do the thing that saying says, if you keep doing the same thing and it's not working, and you keep on doing it, you're not learning from the process, sort of thing. So I know that the actual comment and quote is a lot better than that, but the fact of the matter is, we see them when they struggle and get in a bit of trouble, and they just beat on that same drum. It's like, okay, I'm watching on TV, I can see that's not working. And it's to me that's a leadership thing. Is there someone in there that's going in that huddle when they can see the sixth try? Let's change things up. We've got to change anything. Go to plan B. Even go before then when things aren't going right, instead of just smashing on that same old button over and over and over and over again. So I think we'll see that this weekend. I don't want the All Blacks to get their own way this weekend. I don't want them to go here. If this is a 40-something to 10, that's bad. That's real bad for the All Blacks. That's going to be terrible because they'll think they're the world beaters and they'll think they're amazing and they'll think they're fantastic. And we've seen it all too often before where you're going with too much confidence and you're not tested. You haven't had that big kind of force against you, something to make you struggle. And if they don't have that, I think they need that this weekend. All the Wallabies. Hey, Shane, all the Wallabies might do it. Yeah.
The other thing that's sorry, Kate. Just to give you the quote there, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing again and expecting a different result. That's it. Yeah. That's where you're going. Look, this weekend, if it's a blowout with the All Blacks win, that's bad. If it's a blowout with the Springboks win, that's also bad because I can very much see the press will suddenly jump on the bandwagon of remove Foster, bring in Razor now, and we'll end up with all of that in the news and have all of that distraction going on of we know who the next guy is, just bring him already because we know this guy isn't doing it. So for the All Blacks' sake, they have to keep this one has to be a tight game either way. Obviously, they want to win it and have a hard 3-point win, but a blowout either way would not be good for this All Blacks team. Whereas for the Springboks, I think they can cope with the blowout either way, and it wouldn't be that much of a diversion of their plan towards Rugby World Cup.
South Africa seems to be one of those nations that are very focused. Like they know where they're going, they know the players they're using to do the job, and I guess they got such incredible depth to do it. And they seem to be, like you say, if they get smashed, they'll go into next week, obviously with a little bit of change and focus on different things, but they'll still have the same sort of overall game plan. The long-term plan seems to be in place. Whereas if the All Blacks get smashed this weekend, what's the better that you see a wholesale changes for the game against the Wallabies? They'll just be like, oh, that didn't work. Let's go some completely different way from the media pressure. They're going to stick by their guns.
Like him or loathe him, and I'm not a big fan of Razzie as a person. As a coach, I respect him and think he's very good at being a head coach. As a person, I think he's a dick. You got to say that what he's done, his position, and therefore Neymar's position as well as head coach is rock solid. He can't do any wrong at the moment. So from that point of view, he wouldn't face the same media pressure as Ian Foster would receive from that point of view.
Mm-hmm.
mate, LB, you don't have a second go at Wimbledon. You have a second go at it's not in Wimbledon. It's at Twickenham. Is you have a second go. And Twickenham isn't Wimbledon in London, by the way.
Could
But
play
there
a
is
game of
that extra
tennis.
game. You could play a game
All
of
Blacks
tennis.
versus Springboks at Wimbledon. How about that?
Well, we do have
Cross
the kind of the we do have that cricket game, don't we, between the Black Caps and the All Blacks. So perhaps we should do that between the Springboks. Black Clash. Yeah. Cool. That's the last thing from this game. Sam Cane kicking a pitch invader or tripping a pitch invader. Look, my cards on the table. Should he have done it? No. Players should not get involved with pitch invaders, more for their own safety than anything else, and just stay out of it. Let someone else deal with it. Should he have to do an apology about it? No, much ado about nothing. The guy runs on the pitch. He takes him down. That's fine. Look, the guy shouldn't be there. He doesn't need to apologize. So the apology and all that kind of stuff is all a bit over the top. Sure, does it look good that your country's captain, one of the most famous, one of the kind of biggest roles in the country behind the Prime Minister, leader of the opposition, and the All Blacks head coach, so perhaps the fourth most important job in the country, is assaulting an opposition supporter? No. But look, he's a pitch invader, so it depends on what spin you want to put on it. I understand why they wanted to get ahead of the story, but it's sorry, it's a mistake. Let's move on. It's hardly even a mistake. Put bluntly, should he have done it? No. Is it a big mistake? No. But yeah, much ado about nothing in my view.
Oh, he should have picked him up. He should have put him in a headlock, suplexed him, thrown him into the posts, and just like drilled the guy so that the useless security who was plodding along behind him could have taken him away. What irritates me the most, and I've already had a rave about this in our chats and stuff, is that the guy gets treated like he's the victim. The guy that came onto the field gets rewarded and treated like a victim. That is why I'm upset. I don't really care what the players do. It was after the game. He was in a place he shouldn't have been in. He was in a lion's den. He's going to get eaten. So they should have spear tackled him, Brian Lima style, and put him in a big rib tickler and let him to go away, get kicked out of the stadium, get a 10-year, 15, 20 lifetime ban. I don't care. And a massive fine. Pretty much make a statement and be like, you do that here, don't come back. Because that guy got a nice little private meet and greet with the All Blacks captain, and probably a couple of others would have gone along for the ride as well. And he would have got a nice shiny new T-shirt. He would have got a nice keychain and a cup holder and all that. So, like this. Look how cool. See, real organizations give you free stuff when you go and visit them from the other side of the world. So that's what he'll be getting. He'll be getting the nice treatment. I certainly does hope he gets punished, and we should never see him again. But it sets a bad example as well, because people see that on social media. Oh, we met with the chap and cleared things up. It's like, oh, little Billy sitting at home going, Dad, this dickhead who went on the field got a free, interview, meet and greet with the All Blacks captain. It's like, let's do that next weekend at Mount Smart, So that's where I have the problem with it. It's like, you've got to make it look like it's a bad thing. And at the moment, it looks like it's something that gets rewarded and victimized on the person that committed the crime.
So, folks, if you want to get yourself a Rugby World Cup winner medal, if you want to be a Rugby World Cup winner medal, find yourself a 12-year-old, throw them on the pitch at the end of the game, and Sonny Bill Williams will give you a World Cup winner medal. Look, yeah, pitch invaders shouldn't be rewarded like that. Should they also be beaten up and thrown in jail? No. Look, there needs to be a level of balance. But Christopher Edwards Bailey says, look, technically it's assault. Yeah, maybe it is, but it's not. No, what? Sorry, but
if you trip someone up on the side of the street, that's not assault. Well, is it? Technically, if you're walking down the street and you trip someone, no. If you punch them in the face, that's assault. Even if you suplex them into a rubbish bin, that's not assault. That's just cool.
So, as we'll find from next week, Cornflake will not be available as he's going to be in jail. So we'll be having some new guests on next week. I'll be trying to get in as quickly as possible to do the Patreon specials, because his availability is going to be somewhat limited going forwards. So yes, the stop oil will disrupt the game. Maybe that will happen in up in up in Europe. I don't think it'll happen here, but we'll see. I didn't say it was assault. I'll bring up the comment where you said it was assault. You said technically it's assault. If you really want to share the comment, or did someone else? If someone else said it, I'm sorry. I will apologise. But I can't even find the bloody comment now. Maybe you delete.
No.
Maybe it was. Sorry. Nocturnal Right said technically it's assault. Sorry, Christopher. I got the wrong person. Nocturnal Right said he said technically it's an assault. So yeah, I did get the wrong person. Sorry for that one. Look, coming up this weekend, we've got the Mount Smart game because the Women's Football Rugby World Cup is taking up Eden Park, so Eden Park can't be used. It does also mean that the Auckland Club Rugby Finals will also be at Papatoe, I think it is, not at Eden Park this year as well. Stephen Harris has been doing some fantastic work around the club rugby and doing post-game interviews and covering that. So head over to our Facebook page for New Zealand Sport Radio if you're interested in Auckland Club Rugby, using some fantastic coverage of that. I think that is pretty much it. Anything else from? There you go. Charlie will be paying your fines if you go around punching people in Invercargill. Why won't it share? It's not working properly. Something I've got a problem with the software, folks.
Oh, there we go. It's away. Goodness, we've got 6 comments going at once now. Whoa.
Any sort of final comments before we sign off?
Roll on next weekend. Well, this weekend. Jesus, Monday, isn't it? Yes. Roll on this weekend. Bring on the South Africans. I'm looking forward to that because Argentina, you disappointed me. I love your passion. I love your fight and desire, but you let me down massively this weekend. You let me down. So hopefully we can get a bit of fight out of those Springboks this weekend. And good luck, Australia. That's all.
Yep. So Saturday. Games come out this weekend. So on Friday night, Friday at 2 p.m. Friday afternoon. It's all New Zealand time away. We've got Tonga versus Australia in the Pacific Nations Cup. Then in the Saturday evening, 7 p.m. kickoff, New Zealand versus South Africa. At 9 p.m., Japan versus New Zealand 15. And then and also at 9:45 p.m., Australia versus Argentina. So a couple of games on at the same time there on that one. So that's the games from this weekend. Simon says, is the game in Mount Smart the only game in New Zealand this year? No, there's one down in Australia in Dunedin, as you say, as well. Yes. How Cornflake, have you ever drunk Hokoni? I've never drunk that, so I have no idea what that is.
Hokonui. It's a place.
Hokonui.
I presume the moonshine, I'd expect.
Oh, okay.
Old school.
There we go. He's not blind, so no, he hasn't. So thank you, everyone. Do join us again next week at 8 p.m. I say a couple of Patreon specials coming up. The Tana Manga interview, media interview he gave earlier today, and also Cornflake and I talking about what his experiences at USA sporting events and what New Zealand, what we can do in New Zealand to improve our sporting events to get people to turn up. Thank you, Cornflake. Great to have you back. And thank you, everybody in the live chat. Great to have you all around.